Welcome to another session of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. We find ourselves in the mists. Sofie has received a letter, allegedly from her departed mother, who had vanished 30 years ago. The letter instructed her whatever she did, no matter what, she should not come to Baldwin Farm. Thankfully for our story, Sofie didn't listen, or this would be a really boring mystery. Gathering her allies, Sofie did, shockingly, investigation, discovering references to madness and strange goings-on, including agents of the library who disappeared in the area of Smith's Cove, where Baldwin Farm is located. Together with Dr. Lucius Jensen and Julian Benavides, Sofie made her way out of Seattle into Interbay. Well, modern Interbay, at the time called Smith's Cove, and, following winding trails and footpaths, eventually found Baldwin Farm. The place was covered in a thick mist, and across the path were a number of fence posts driven into the ground, even going down into the waters of a small nearby lake and wrapping around through a number of nearby trees. Each was covered in crucifixes and had crosses drawn all over them. Thinking nothing of this obviously ominous warning, our heroes progressed on and into the mists, where we encountered a farmhouse. A large 2-floor structure, leaning slightly and in disrepair, everything covered in puddles of water, growths of moss, mushrooms, and molds. Everything here had a sense of decay and dampness to it. But there were lights on inside. And Sofie called out, having believed she recently heard her mother's voice. We left off mere moments ago, as a figure was standing in the doorway, silhouetted by the light behind them. Sofie, there is a long pause before the figure says, in a creaking and aged voice, who have we here? Visitors? He takes a step backwards, and you're able to see it's an old man. His face is wrinkled and worn. His cheeks are heavily creased. A gray beard and mustache cover his face. And a small flat cap sits atop his head.
Why is he wearing his hat inside? Is he getting ready to go somewhere?
Is that the key information you want to ask him about?
That's not a real question.
Oh, come on. You already know what the key information she wants to know about is, Brian.
It's about the hat.
The beard,
it's about
obviously.
if the beard is braided.
It is not.
Great.
This man is now dead to her.
All right, this was a wasted trip. Let's all go back to the library.
Kind of seeing that there's no Boston about to jump out at her and, or like violent homeowner or something.
Boy, that is a bold assumption there, Sofie.
What? No Boston?
That there's nothing about to jump out at us?
Oh, there's definitely something about to jump out, but the person at the door is not pointing a gun at me, so.
That part is true.
She will step a little closer and, just trying to see if she recognizes the man, but assuming that she doesn't. Can she see past him into the house at all, or is he kind of blocking everything?
He's blocking most of what's beyond. You can see a little bit. There are lanterns hanging from hooks on the wall. There is a table behind him. It looks like a large dining table. But his face is entirely unfamiliar to you.
Okay. Then she'll step forward a little bit, but still, she's not going up the steps still. She's just kind of at the bottom step. Who are you, sir? Do you live here?
That I do. My name is Eier Mansson, I am a servant here at Baldwin Farm. We get very few visitors. Please, come in. Come in out of the damp and cold.
I'll look at Julian and Dr. J and just make sure that they're not like try to, stay back or whatever. And if not, then I'll gingerly follow him in because I don't know how else to get the information I'm after.
Lucius will kind of look over to Julian to see if he's going to go inside as well, or if he's going to hang out outside.
Yeah, I will look up to Sofie, and if it looks like she's kind of waiting for me, I will walk on up and follow in behind her. Probably take position by the door, just to stay close to it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I walk in, and I can see myself, just taking a finger across some sort of a surface and kind of rubbing my fingers together. And
Now, is that an inside surface or an outdoor surface?
I'll say inside.
Okay, inside it's not as bad.
Oh, okay.
So once you kind of step through the doorway, it is dry, and it is very well lit. Outside, everything is a little hazy, a little dim, even though it's only mid-morning. It seems like the sun is barely getting through this mist and the thick stands of trees that are around. But inside, there are candles laid out on this long table. There are chairs that have been set up around it. There are lanterns hanging from the walls. It's a little dusty, but it's definitely not like moldy or moss-covered or damp like it is outside.
So a question, and I might be metagaming this a little too much, so tell me to shut up if I need to.
Shut up, Wesley.
You're mentioning the mold and the damp a lot. As I go in and I'm looking at some of that mold and mildew, like on some of the outer surfaces of the house, does anything stand out to me about it? I'm not a botanist, but does anything stand out to me about the mold or mildew?
Make a learning test for me.
Cool.
Can I help him if he stops to check it out before he walks in?
You can provide a +1 bonus.
Okay.
You said learning?
Learning.
Yeah, okay. Well, learning investigation, it's all the same, zeros. So with the 1 extra help die from Sofie, this will be 4 dice. Oh, 1 success on 4 dice.
I had this great idea that I was going to start presenting you with checks in your weak areas. Being like, a learning test for Julian, a fighting test for Sofie, a emotional test of any sort or shape for Dr. Jensen.
Any persuasion whatsoever.
And yet you're like, 2 dice, 5 successes.
Well, I mean, I pushed the roll once.
No. That is Phoenix. Let's be clear.
Yeah, that's Phoenix. Yeah, don't worry about us.
You
Brian.
pulled off a success on 2 dice last time, Bill.
You did.
Oh, okay. Fine.
So I'm just saying, the days of all of you rolling badly may have finally come to an end. Or I've jinxed the shit out of it by saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
So Julian has had a little bit of experience getting out into the woods for a very short amount of time. He may have accompanied his father doing some lumberjack work before realizing, oh no, this is not the life for me.
The lumberjacks are great.
Oh my God, this is going to give me the worst calluses in the wrong places and just unacceptable.
But you remember your dad kind of walking through the forest with you and sharing some of the different areas and things to look out for. There's a lot that is growing here. More than you would expect. Even for a place like the Pacific Northwest, where things are damp and you get ferns and mosses and other things like that, this place is overgrown with it. You're seeing lily pads in small puddles. You're seeing this kind of thick canopy of mosses that are hanging down from the trees. This place is alive with all of these plants. in a way that definitely doesn't feel normal to Julian. But good news, there's none of that indoors.
Excellent.
Inside of the farmhouse, it is dry, it is warm, things are a little dusty, the place is a little poorly kept, but on the whole, it's certainly preferable to being outdoors right now.
The table, you said there were chairs around it.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell from the position of the chairs or dishes or anything, like how many people might have been sitting here or might be expected to sit here?
This is a very long table, so it could probably hold about a dozen people.
Oh, wow.
But, like, does it look like a dozen people regularly sit there or, like, 3?
Mm-mm. No. Most of the chairs are still tucked very neatly under the table. There are place settings that are out, but again, you can see a little patina of dust on some of the plates. It looks like things are still being set up as though people are going to be having a meal anytime soon. And you can see, like, there's not dust on the napkins, there's not dust on the forks, but it definitely doesn't feel like this has been frequently used. What is it that brings you to Baldwin Farm, and how may I be of service, visitors?
Mr. Manson, was it?
Yes.
You said that you are the caretaker here, I believe?
That I am, until the master of the farm returns.
Ah, so where might he be?
Unfortunately, the master of Baldwin Farm is away on business right now. I suspect he will be back any day.
How long has he been away on business?
I'm not sure. It's been a little difficult keeping track of the sun. I suspect a few weeks, though. Perhaps a month or 2.
I suspect it's been more than that. Okay.
And I'm sorry, what is your master's name?
Oh, it would be rude of me to introduce him before he has had a chance to introduce himself.
Oh, great.
Totally understand.
Oh, boy.
I totally understand as I look over to Sofie and kind of like, don't know how I feel about that.
That's not weird at all.
Did Dr. Jensen join us inside, or are you staying outside?
No, I joined you inside. I'm more inside the door. I guess I'm more in towards Sofie than Julian is.
Gotcha.
I will sort of give Julian a look. I mean, we're about to do a thing that we've done before. We don't have a
quote-unquote plan.
Do you remember Morocco in 98 or something like that? Like, we don't have a code for it, but Mr. Manson, as you can imagine, we've been walking through the damp for some time. Do you have a powder room that I could use, perchance?
Of course. Please forgive my manners. Would you all like something to eat or something to drink?
I would love some tea if you don't mind. That would be much appreciated.
I believe we have some. Please, feel free to take a seat. I will be only a few moments.
If you need any help in the kitchen, I'd be more than happy to help. And question for GM Brian, my field kitchen, is that like a one-time use item there as far as like the amount of spices and stuff that I have, or is there enough that I would be able to potentially use that multiple times?
Yeah, that's something that I'd say you could use multiple times.
Okay.
Until Dr. J decides to punch an old man.
Until an old man turns out to be a boss.
I'm more worried about you shooting him.
That's also a concern. So did he point out a powder room to me? I guess it doesn't matter if he's like going to the kitchen, but...
Well, Aaron, I'm so glad you asked.
Oh no.
Do you know what I have?
Oh no.
Do you know what it's time for?
Oh boy. It's time for a map.
It's time for a map.
Let's go. All right. The kitchen is off the main hall. What kind of heathens have laid out this house?
Oh, it's weird. There is a long hallway past the central hall. There are some stairs. There's a parlor room, an office, and a bunkhouse back there. For an actual powder room, you don't believe they have anything in unit. Nothing en suite, if you will.
Okay.
And quick question, Phoenix, were you accompanying him into the kitchen?
If he didn't object, yes.
Yep, absolutely.
Then I will, okay, if he doesn't have anything like that, I'll just ask him if there is a room that I could go to what's something I could do, like my shoes are wet, I want to take off my wet stockings or something. I'm not going to tell him that because that would be inappropriate, but
like I want to dry out my socks or something. Yeah.
Make yourself comfortable, Sofie.
I mean, yeah, I need to just rearrange my garments which have gotten wet. That's what. Yeah.
He mentions at the far end of the hall, there is a large bunkhouse where a number of the servants and workers at the farm had been living, and you are free to step inside.
Before I do, what has happened to the other workers? Is it just you now?
I am afraid it is only me. Most of the staff wound up leaving with our master to go upon his errand.
Oh, understood.
But again, they and he should be back soon.
Okay, thank you very much. I will rejoin you all in a moment.
So we'll cut back to Sofie in just a second. Julian?
Yes, sir.
The kitchen is surprisingly well stocked. You see cupboards that are full of things. There are pantries with root vegetables. There's some bread that's been laid out on the counters. There are smoked meats that are hanging from hooks from the ceiling. There's a small hearth and a little kettle that you could boil some tea, and even an icebox.
Huh? As I walk in, and so is he going to set up the teas, boiling the water?
Yep, that's correct.
Cool. So yeah, I just walking into the kitchen and seeing how well stocked it is, just kind of follow in behind him and yeah, just kind of take it in. Wow, you're very well stocked. I consider myself a bit of a gourmand, but not as just much more here than I was expecting for as far off of the grid as you are. How long have you been out in this place, Master Mansson?
Oh, I've been here for most of my days.
So about 20 years, wink wink.
Oh, a few more than that. Please help yourself to some food, young man, and if you would like to bring some out for your companions as well.
Sure. I'll take a look through, see what I can scrounge together, and if I'm hearing about smoked meats and whatnot, I'll probably try to put together the most sublime charcuterie board for our group.
So you can actually pull together enough resources that you could add the item nutritious provisions to your inventory.
Oh, cool.
That said, when you do, please put an exclamation point in front of it. No reason.
No, this is fine. That sounds entirely
legit,
like a normal thing.
Oh,
that was a good cackle.
Boy.
10 out of 10.
Why?
It's fine, you guys.
Now, Phoenix, were you going to be kind of digging around through any of the cupboards or cabinets, or are you just grabbing some of the stuff that's kind of readily available? Like meats, cheeses, breads.
Keep in mind that Sofie gave Julian a look, so hopefully he's being a little
Sofie is always giving me looks. What am I supposed to do with that?
That is true. 10 out of 10.
So
factual statement.
I'm gonna. I do think it's weird, but I am still at this point trying to be polite. So I'm not going to go rummaging. I would likely just grab the things that were easily available.
Obviously food, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe just making conversation as I'm putting this all together. Grab some of the spices out of my pack and whatnot.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't think I'm actually going to be actively like rummaging through cabinets or drawers or anything like that.
Yeah, Eier is a very quiet man. He answers sort of politely enough, but as you kind of try and engage him, you get a lot of,
yes, yes. Indeed. No, let me just tend to the tea.
So a lot of kind of, oh yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, great.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really get a sense that you're getting a lot from him.
I'm more than happy to carry the conversation.
I've never had any doubts about that.
Eventually, Julian just starts talking about himself.
Eventually. That's like, so you've been out here for 20 years. Have you heard the name, hypothetically, Julian Benavides?
Julian Benavides.
Carl Jung.
I'll ask about that if he says no.
Or any of your many, many aliases.
Anyway,
cutting back for a minute. Bill, what is Dr. Jensen doing? He's been left alone in this dining room, on this kind of large hall.
Well...
Drinking. No, sorry.
We're still early in the mystery.
What difference does that make?
So, assuming that Sofie's already wandered off, Lucius will kind of just openly wander around the room until he starts hearing Julian start talking about himself, and then he's like, all right. And he will just he's not trying to be sneaky or subtle. He's just kind of walking in the middle down the hallway, just see if there's any paintings on the wall, what the state of the rest of the house is. Maybe like peek if the doors are open, peek through.
Oh yeah, the doors are partially open.
He wouldn't push any open, just if he could get like a glance inside.
Yep.
Maybe to see if he got an idea of what the room was.
Yeah.
Joke's on you, Sofie's already opened every single door on the way to the end of the hall.
I figured that.
That's how you know what's in the room. Now, was Sofie actually going to that bunkhouse, or was she going to explore some of the other rooms?
She's at least going to look into all the rooms to see if there is a room that catches her interest as far as clues about her mother.
Okay. So then I'll describe for both of you, and you can both choose what you want to do. There are a set of stairs that lead up to a second floor. These are kind of wraparound stairs, so you can't quite see what's at the top of them from where you were at. There is a small office. It definitely has a smell of kind of rot and damp that you didn't smell down in the hall. Kind of poking your head in for a quick second, you can see there are a bunch of plush chairs and a fireplace. There is a large ornate writing desk and a rolling chair. However, there is also a leak in the ceiling that has been dropping water onto a set of letters. Across the hall from that is a parlor that contains several threadbare chairs. This room is pretty dusty and has a lot of moth that you see kind of flitting around. There is also a window that unfortunately has been broken, and water has been running in through a crack, and that's been leaking in and kind of dripping down. Sofie is also just barely able to see because all of these rooms are dark unless she's bringing a light with her. In that parlor, you see what looks like it might be musical instruments mounted up on the walls. The bunkhouse at the very end of the hall has several double-stacked beds atop each other. This room has a real old and musty kind of smell, as if no one has been in here or changed these linens anytime recently. At the foot of each of these bunk beds are a pair of trunks. And this room has, again, several windows that are mostly kind of overgrown with mosses on the outside, so that there's barely any light that's getting through.
If it was dark in the end of the house and she actually had asked permission to go back there for some purpose, she probably would have taken a candle.
Okay.
Or she would have got one of the lanterns off the hooks on the wall.
Yeah, there are a few lanterns in that long hallway, but no light on in the office, the parlor, or the bunkhouse.
Okay. So she'll just, grab one of the lanterns.
So I assume at this point, Dr. J kind of catches up with you in the hall as you're poking your head into these different rooms.
Yeah, if she went to
kind of check stuff out,
go into a room, yeah, he would. Mm-hmm. So I guess if that was the case, if he noticed that Sofie was poking her head in places, then he's going to be kind of just maybe occupying, like, again, he's not trying to hide that he went down the hallway, but maybe trying to just block or obscure the vision if Sofie went in to maybe try and just help make it look like we're not snooping.
So I'm not going to spend a bunch of time in any of these rooms because I don't want, I don't have, I have no sneak, and I don't want to get caught, as in like throw suspicion on us or something. But I will step into the office and see if I can quickly see anything from what's on the desk, if there's anything decipherable.
Absolutely. Let me read you a quick description.
Oh boy.
Unlike most of the other areas of the farmhouse, this office smells of damp and rot. Several plush chairs sit next to a stone fireplace, long disused and full of wet, moldering logs as water trickles and drips down from the open flue. An ornate writing desk with a rolling chair dominates the center of the room. Sets of quills, pens, and charcoals are all neatly arranged next to stacks of blank paper. 2 small bins are set for outgoing and incoming letters. A steady drip of water runs along a ceiling post, falling when it reaches a joist and landing in the incoming letters bin. The entire thing is a damp puddle of greenish molds and paper scraps now. A single envelope sits in the outgoing letter bin, waiting for a delivery that will never come.
Who is it to? Does it have my name on it?
It does not.
Who is it to?
There is no address.
It's sealed?
Maybe it's for you. It doesn't say it's not.
I need it.
Sofie kind of picks up this letter. Is she going to open the envelope?
No, I'm not going to open it right now.
But are you going to take it?
I'm going to take it.
Okay. So we smash cut away from Sofie kind of looking at this letter.
Oh, shit.
Phoenix is in the kitchen with Eier.
People think that playing the violin, it's just all about precision and discipline. Oh, and don't get me wrong, it is. But what they don't realize is it's just as much about storytelling.
As you say that, the man suddenly launches himself at you and grabs you by the wrist with a strength that his old frame seems a little shocking.
You must not! While you are here, there shall be no music. No music at all. Do not draw a bow across that instrument.
Well, I wasn't Phoenix the player. I was not expecting that. Okay.
And he is looking at you with intent.
Just to confirm, so he has grabbed my wrist. He's stronger than I expect. But strong for a human. This does not feel otherworldly. My arm is being crushed.
No, but this feels like the kind of strength that you have as adrenaline hits your system, as panic hits your system.
Got it. I take a moment to just reorient myself to the shock of this. I was not expecting it at all. My good man. I understand. I'm sorry. I meant no offense.
The irises of his eyes have shrunken down, and you can see the whites in large egg shapes in his eyes.
Man, I am just the perfect person to be standing here.
Before he left, The master forbade any music or any song to be sung at Baldwin Farm. For your safety, you must not take the instrument from that case.
And he is, just so I'm clear, he's gesturing to, like, my violin.
Your violin
case.
case. Yep.
Okay.
Like, you got the sense he had missed it earlier, but as soon as you mentioned, like, oh, playing the violin, he's like...
Here, I just thought I was making conversation about myself, my favorite topic.
No, instead you're giving me perfect segues, as usual.
That's outstanding.
Great job distracting him from Sofie down the hall, who's probably doing something she shouldn't be doing too.
Oh, yeah, and Sofie and Dr. Jensen are easily able to hear, like, a commotion coming from the kitchen. If you'd like to hear exactly what was said, you can make a vigilance test. Otherwise, you can just kind of hear, like raised voices suddenly happened.
I will do a vigilance check since I'm essentially being lookout for Sofie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I cannot stress, Bill. Your hurricane lantern doesn't help you hear this.
The flask, however...
My flask?
That absolutely helps.
This is actually an intervention.
What?
I got 1 success on 7 dice.
Okay.
Oi.
I got 2 successes on 7 dice.
Oh, yeah. You're both easily able to hear every word that was said down the hall.
Aaron knows what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm guessing it's not time for Sofie to know any of that yet.
I will say, if you would like to throw it out there, I will let you make a roll for it.
All right.
What do you think it is?
I think it's a neck. I think there's a neck here. There's instruments in the other room, and the guy doesn't want Julian to play any music. That's what it sounds like to me.
Feel free to make a learning test.
Oh! 3 successes on 10 dice.
All right. 3 will give you everything.
Whee!
Here is what you know about the neck. The neck, also called Nokken or Fosgrim, is a supernaturally talented musician who lives in streams, rivers, and lakes. His music is beyond beautiful, beyond any comparison, and it compels its listeners to follow it or dance, potentially straight into the waters to drown. He can move between different waterways with only a thought. Nokken can change his shape into other people, or can transform into animals that live in or around water. There is always something that gives him away, though, like webbed hands or frog's eyes or a greenish cast to his skin. The neck may offer to teach a musician his skills if he is suitably approached. Some claim that he is lonely and doesn't know that humans cannot breathe underwater, while other sources claim that he is cruel and the spawn of the devil. Now, Sofie also knows the neck is very sensitive to Christian symbols and steel. He loathes places where the cross has been carved, and can be prevented from using his magic by throwing a steel knife into the ground when speaking to him. The neck can also be banished if he is lured to a place where he is completely surrounded in Christian symbols and steel.
Interesting.
Finally, it is important, vital to note, there is only one neck. He can be found all over Scandinavia, occasionally in separate places at the same time, but it is still the same creature. For a steel knife to block the Nokken's magic, it must first have been used to cut the strings of a fiddle.
Oh.
The neck can only be truly banished by destroying his musical instrument with a steel knife blessed by a Christian priest. And even then, he will only be gone for a year and a day. Even if an area has been protected against him, he can be summoned if he hears people singing or playing music with gusto and passion.
Oh, great. Cool.
And that's what you know about the neck. Oh, you also know he's Brian's favorite Vossen.
I do know that.
I've been very excited for you to immediately be like, oh, I know what that is.
I mean, I heard that entire description, but the only thing that I heard is they may teach music to others. So this is fucking great.
You don't know any of that yet.
I am envisioning a fucking fiddle battle. Julian went down to George. Julian went down to Ballard looking for a neck to steal.
I'm not saying you're wrong, because you're not.
All right, so Sophie's kind of looking around, peeking around that back area, and you notice in the parlor, after taking just an extra second, all of those musical instruments, all these fiddles, viols, harps that are mounted to the wall, all of the strings have been cut.
Oh.
Interesting.
All right, so do the two of you get back?
Yeah, I will. After pointing out some of the instruments to Sofie that they're more display than trophies or that's more for like affluence and that I would suggest we probably get back since we've been away for a bit, and it sounds like Julian's running afoul of what Eier by mentioning something with musical instruments. So we might want to get back.
All right. The two of you head back. Julian, shortly thereafter, heads out of the kitchen with his charcuterie.
I prepared some victuals, my friends.
By the way, as soon as Sofie has taken the letter and glanced into the parlor, she will book it to the bunkhouse and set down her candle and stay in there for a second just to,
make sure the story is accurate.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And you're able to quickly kind of head back as they're kind of getting everything ready. A steaming mug of tea has been poured for you. And some has been left out for each of you if you're interested.
It's not my preference, but Dr. Jensen will pick up the tea and take some sip and make it tastes great to Eier.
Most excellent, most excellent. So tell me, what brings you to Baldwin Farm?
All right, give me a second. What am I going to tell him? I thought perhaps someone that I know might have visited here, maybe recently. Have you had any visitors besides us?
No, very few and far between.
This would have been an older lady, in her 60s, maybe? Maybe it was some time ago, I suppose it could have been.
Can you tell me anything more about her?
Well, she might have resembled me a little bit, except with blonde hair and tall, similar to myself. Other than that, I haven't seen her in some time, so I'm not quite sure.
No, I'm terribly sorry, young miss. We did not have anyone here who has matched that description that I can recall.
Did you perhaps have someone younger, many years ago?
Well, perhaps my memory is not as keen as it once was, but I would recall a young woman here, but none who I can think of who would match her description like that, I'm afraid.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you, Ira. We really appreciate your hospitality. I don't know. Should I ask him? Like, no, there's no reason for us to like look around or anything.
I mean, I doubt it's going to do anything, but you've already mentioned, she looks like me except with, blonde hair. Do you want to give him a name?
No, because I forgot her last name. Brian, what's my mom's last name?
I
Matthias.
definitely know what it is. I'm definitely not looking it up at this very second.
I believe it's Inga Sofie's daughter, isn't it?
Inga, Sophie's mama.
Oh, you beat me to it by seconds. Seconds.
Mutter. Sophie's Mutter.
Sophie's Mutter, yeah.
Sorry, did you want her maiden name or her married name?
Both.
So at the time, she would have been Inge Corbett.
Ugh.
But her previous name was Inge Lovestjerne.
Oh, right. Stars. Okay.
Lion of the Stars.
Lion of the Stars. Then, yeah. One final question. If you don't mind, I apologize. We were just hoping to find some information. Does the name Inge Lovestjerne mean anything to you, or Inge Corbett?
Inge. No, I'm afraid not.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you for your help.
Can I get everyone to roll an observation test?
Oh, crap.
Sure.
I am in danger. Ah, shit.
Observation. That's the insight check, isn't it? That's the...
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
0 success on 7 dice for me.
0 success on 2 dice for me.
That tracks.
Got 1 success on 7 dice.
Okay.
Sorry, 8 dice.
As you're talking to him, his eye twitches. When you ask about Inge, you just see a little twitch on his face that everybody else missed.
So, since we, I went and I sent for Julian and Dr. J, and we talked to Matthias, and we looked at a whole bunch of stuff, and we looked through some maps, and then we came out here.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably later in the day, right?
You actually had looked over the maps and done kind of your purchasing a little bit in advance.
Oh, okay.
So you were able to set out in the morning. You got here probably by like 10, 11 o'clock. So at this point, probably close to noon, maybe 1.
Okay. Once again, Brian, I am too dumb for your situations. So now I'm just like, what the fuck do I do? I don't know. I can't. So I've asked him questions. I know he's being shady about something, but I don't know how to like tell. For instance, Julian could convince him to talk more, but I don't know how to like tell Julian what's going on.
You had said earlier when Sofie and Lucius were basically exploring the house that we could hear sounds from the kitchen. How much of the actual conversation were we hear? Did we just kind of hear?
We heard everything, right? Because we rolled for vigilance.
Yep. A lot of it was standard, I'm Julian. I'm lovely. Oh my god, it's so hard being me, everyone.
Standard.
You have any idea how long I have to work to be this gorgeous? God, darling.
Did I give you a script?
I just said, what would Astarion do?
Oh my god.
Astarion's a dick. I'm not a dick.
But
I will never understand all the Astarion love. I don't get it. The guy's a dick. There, I said it. I stand by it.
We are getting slightly off topic. The important part is you did hear Julian talk about like how difficult it is to play the violin and how it is storytelling through music. And at that point, you heard Eier snap and be like, no.
So, I guess that's what I was trying to understand, is if we actually heard Eier tell him that, or if we just heard kind of the sounds of like what was like Julian talking, all of a sudden interrupted by very like hushed, quieted.
Oh no.
Okay.
No, you caught all of it.
Yeah, and I don't know that you've overheard it, so I have been trying to figure out a way to kind of get that information over to you. I just haven't. I'm waiting for an opportunity. It's fine.
So if I guess if there's, depending on how Sofie reacts to, because I don't know if Sofie is trying to call out Eier or if it's just kind of like we're in silence waiting for Sofie to say the next thing. But Lucius will go, I couldn't help but notice that we overheard a concerned conversation around music. Is something wrong here at the mansion around music? Is there some disturbance?
Prior to his departure, the farm's master forbade any music or singing in this place. It is not to be borne. You must not.
It seems somewhat harsh. No music at all, and is there a reason? What's...
It is not for me to question my orders. I am a loyal servant.
But surely if you just, hummed a tune to yourself as you're working, that's not forbidden here, is it?
Indeed.
And the three of you do all remember, as Lucius says that, I need to post it. As Lucius says that, you did hear humming when you got here. You heard what sounded like a woman's voice humming from inside the house.
Oh, right. Eier, does this have anything to do with the broken instruments in the other room? The door was open and I happened to glance in.
I suspect so, but I do not know for certain. Prior to his departure, my master had seen to it that the instruments there would not play. It is not for a servant to question the actions of his master.
Sofie, his eye twitches.
Okay, so Sofie is sitting on the knowledge that there is possibly a neck involved here due to all of the evidence that has been gathered.
Based on what you think so far.
He is very obviously hiding something with the whole music and his master being gone thing. But he is also, on a second level, there is something that he is like maybe trying not to tell us involving his master and possibly involving my mother because he twitched over that too.
Master Manson, I don't suppose this has anything to do with those fence posts we saw outside?
I'm unfamiliar. What fence posts are you referring to?
Oh, we saw several that I thought they had some carving. It's possible I was mistaken. Perhaps it was just an old fence. My mistake.
Of course. And, you mentioned wishing to see the parlor. Shall I give you a tour of the farmhouse?
I will look over to Sofie. Julian is genuinely curious, but obviously at this point can tell something weird is happening, even without Sofie kind of spelling it out for me here. I will kind of look over to her for, should I be going? Do you want me to go? Do you want this area? Do you want him clear for a bit?
Yeah, Sofie is,
He's happy to let all of you on a tour if you would like it.
Yeah, let's go because I want to see, I want a chance to. Here I went in there, I snuck in somewhere and stole a thing, and I didn't even really have to because he was just going to take us.
Well, stealing it would have been harder if he was there.
That's true. Yeah, I think we should all just go. So I'll just. That would be very kind of you. Please lead the way.
Of course. Come right this way, young visitors.
And he takes you kind of down that hall, first to the parlor. I will not describe it again, because y'all have already gotten that. But, Julian, there are very nice instruments that are on the walls, and it is a shame that this room has had a crack in the window that's led to the mold all over the carpet and all of the strings and the damage to the instruments themselves. Julian thinks he could maybe do some repair work on these, but most of them are beyond saving. Like, the wood has cracks in it, some of them have water damage, like, it would take some doing.
This is not the most important thing, but I do feel like I have to ask, like, are these nice, or are these nice?
They were nice.
Okay.
Nice collector pieces, like, not mall katana shitty, but, like, not top shelf, not bottom shelf, like, solid, like, top middle. He shows you the bunkhouse where all of the farm workers previously would stay, and mentions that if you all are going to be here while looking for this woman, you are free to rest here.
Oh. Yeah, I definitely want to sleep in this haunted house. That'd be great.
Fantastic. He shows you the office and mentions that, unfortunately, some water has been getting in. He's going to try to get that repaired one of these days, but he is not a carpenter.
I do have a question,
Mm-hmm.
just about the layout of the place. When we walked in, you mentioned how, and I'm assuming this is the main hall.
Yep.
Very dry, very cozy.
Yep.
But there's also, so the parlor, the window is cracked, things are moldering over.
Mm-hmm.
The office. Does it look like areas that are drier and cozier? Like, has any special attention been paid? It's like he is trying to keep these specifically very clean and dry, or does it just seem like, the window hasn't broken yet, but very easily could?
It seems a little bit of both. It doesn't look like there's been any intention to cause this water damage in these rooms. And it does seem like, as you saw in kind of the entry hall, the silverware is being changed and cleaned, even if the plates are not all being cleaned.
Okay.
So it does seem like he's putting some effort into trying to keep the place as good as it can be.
This is the first time I'm seeing the office there, and basically what you are describing, and Sofie, I am hoping that this doesn't mess up anything on your end, but if I notice that there is, water dripping down onto an inbox, I will move the inbox out of the way, just to be polite about it. Oh, your letters are getting wet here. Let me get these out of the way. Maybe we can try to do something about that leak up there, but at least we don't want these getting damaged.
You push the inbox over to the side and just watch the pile of letters slowly coming apart in the water.
Oh.
They're compost.
The only thing holding their shape was stasis.
Inertia.
And you see kind of like a little bit of mold, and you see a little puff of spores come out of it.
Gross. But still trying to be polite. Yeah, I turn to Eier. Oh, I'm very sorry. I hope there was nothing too important there. You had a chance to read them all, I hope.
Those are not my letters. They are for the master of Baldwin Farm.
Oh. So it really has been quite some time.
A little while now, I believe. I am sure if the correspondence is important, we will get another letter once things have dried out a little. Come right this way. I will take you upstairs.
He did not seem to notice anything missing, by the way.
Yes. Eier, just out of curiosity, have you had any word from your master in the time that he's been gone?
Not yet. Not yet, but I suspect he will be back any day now.
You've been saying that for 25 years. Sorry. Yeah, okay. We'll follow him upstairs, I guess.
So he leads you.
Is there anything...
creaking
Sorry.
stairs.
Sorry. Before we leave each of these rooms, is there anything else? Like, are there books? I need to know if there are books, Brian.
Not a book in the place.
What the fuck kind of house doesn't have any books in it?
I mean, do you really want to put a wet book up your skirt, Sofie?
Aaron, do you ask him?
Oh, you know what? I will say, as I look around and see that there's no books, I'll just be like, well, it's a good thing you've put all the books into storage, one assumes, so that they don't get damaged by the damp here.
He looks back over his shoulder as you're going around the last turn up these stairs.
Oh, no, young miss, there are no books in storage. They're all kept in the library.
Past the wooden banister at the top of the stairs is a small landing, and then a set of massive wooden double doors. The doors are reinforced with steel bars run through them, and have two large brass handles that could be used to pull them open. Decorative round mosaic is at the center of each door on a slightly raised bronze dial. Each mosaic is split into 4 parts showing different images, although it looks like one tile is missing from the right-hand door at the top of the dial. On either side of the landing are 2 small, much less impressive doors leading to other rooms.
Sophie's eyes have dilated.
Now come right this way.
And he starts leading you away from the giant doors.
What? Is that part of that's the library? Is that what
This is my workshop.
And he just continues to lead you over to the right.
Fuck.
Are you following after him, or are you going to those doors?
Hell no. I'm gonna go.
Fuck your tour.
Fuck your workshop, old man. I will let Julian and Dr. J distract him. And I'm not going to be like sneaky, but I'm just going to let them go. And I'm going to investigate the door because A, there's a library behind the door. And B, the doors are fucking cool. Like, I want to see what's going on with this mosaic and stuff. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
You know, I'm going to laugh when it really is just like a workshop and Dr. Lucy, Dr. Jensen and I are actually going into the library right now.
This is the bathroom.
We put it on the top floor, like weirdos.
That's why it's leaking downstairs.
Oh, no.
So, Dr. J and Julian, are you continuing with him into the workshop? Or are you going to stay and investigate these cool-ass doors or the other mysterious door at the other side of the hallway?
I am 100% following him.
You poor soul.
Lucius is curious about the giant ornate doors at the top of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
But he will kind of follow Julian. He'll kind of slowly follow after Julian and Eier, just trying to keep an eye on Sofie so we don't get too far out of apart.
So Sofie doesn't do anything ridiculous.
Wait a minute. Does Sofie have a shotgun? She's not going to shoot the door open.
Left it behind.
Oh, thank goodness.
All right, so we're going to split the party. This has historically never gone badly for anyone, and it's always worked out well.
It works great for Scooby-Doo.
Exactly. So we're going to start with Sofie. You are at these large double doors. Looking over them, on the left door, there is a circular mosaic split up into quarters. In the top quarter, there is a mosaic image of a woman covered in leaves. On the right, a grumpy old man in a conical hat. On the bottom, what looks like a sea monster. And on the left, a violin. On the right-hand door, this one is also a circular dial split up into quarters. The top is missing. The right has a knife. The bottom has a fire. And the left has a nail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does Sofie try the obvious thing and try and open these doors?
Well, obviously not. the obvious thing is they're not going to open because there's a part missing for the lock.
Touche. I see
I've
you've
played
played
RPGs
role-playing
before.
games before.
So the first set was the left door or the right door? The left door.
The first set was the left door.
Okay. So the ones on the left are sort of like, no, they're not, because the violin.
All right. We're going to briefly leave Sofie as she ponders a puzzle and cut back to Dr. Jensen and Julian. You are led into this other side room that smells strongly of chemicals. Eier kind of stops and rests a candle on a small workbench and gets a heavy-duty lantern from the wall, lights it from the candle and kind of turns a small knob to brighten and fill this room with light. This appears to be a workshop for taxidermy. Several minutes pass as the old man gives a tour of his workshop and its many unsettling pieces of taxidermy. You see some common things like birds and fish and hares and hawks, but there are also several unusual animals. You see things like a small salmon who has a humanoid face, a cat with bat wings, and numerous rabbits and hares that have sets of antlers and horns coming from their foreheads. And Julian notices that they are the work of two different craftsmen. One, a struggling novice, the other, an artisan showing constant, almost supernatural improvement.
This is your workshop, you said, Eier?
Indeed.
These are some curious specimens you have here, as you'll point to the more odd creatures.
Yeah, if I go towards like the salmon with a face, I'm not going to pick it up. But if I were to like walk over to it and kind of motion, essentially, may I?
Of course, yes. Just please do not drop it.
I will treat it with the utmost care.
It's very creepy looking. The humanoid face looks very real, and you don't quite know how this was made.
So Eier, this was your work that you did here, and pointing to the jackalope?
Oh no, that is not my hand.
Oh.
Those were done by the master.
Oh, okay.
Mine are the simpler fare.
And he gestures towards some of the fish, some of the hares, some of the turtles that have been kind of taxidermied in here. Also, Dr. J, you have a medicine of at least 2, correct?
Yes.
I was going to say, I think it's 5.
It is.
You do kind of a quick scan. You're looking around some of these creepy animals. There's a lot of chemicals in here, and you notice a few that are actually quite toxic and dangerous. Of note, there are a number of bottles of arsenic in here.
Time for drugs.
Well, if I want to murder someone, maybe.
I'm pretty sure there is at least one person you do want to poison.
I guess as a doctor, I'd be familiar with some of these chemicals and them being used particularly to keep preserving of bodies.
Yeah, in this case, these are chemicals that you would know might be used in something like taxidermy.
Okay.
But arsenic is, like, definitely not something you want to get anywhere near a living person.
All right. I certainly hope you, and I assume the master are, I will indicate to some of the chemicals, careful with some of your supplies here. This could cause irreparable harm, especially that you keep it in the house. I'm surprised you don't use a barn or something more for storing of these chemicals.
As Dr. Jensen suggests storing this in the barn, a look of sort of discomfort crosses his face. Something clearly makes him uncomfortable with that idea.
No, I'm so sorry. It's far better to keep them here, where they're close at hand to the work.
I certainly understand wanting to keep your work close, but this is quite dangerous. Dr. Jensen here is quite the expert on medicines and chemicals. I just want to make sure that you're going to be okay.
I have been working with these substances for some time and have not suffered any ill effects from them.
There's a part of me that wants to prompt Dr. Jensen to give him an exam.
I was actually going to say, can I with that statement, can I kind of give him an assessment, like kind of look up and down to see how?
As you are considering his condition, we're going to briefly pause and jump back to Sofie. Aaron, has Sofie come to any conclusions about these strange dials?
So it seems from the coordinating quadrants of the circles that the ones on the left represent Boston and the ones on the right represent how to defeat them, or, in summary, like symbolically. So the grumpy man in a conical hat, was there something with the Vatir and nails? Or
give me a learning test. Oh, that's your specialty.
I know.
Literally one of the world's foremost scholars, like, nah.
All right. So I got 1 success on 10 dice.
All right. That is all you need, though.
Okay.
What you were thinking about is information that you learned related to the Skepsra.
Okay, so that goes to the... Okay.
They are a cousin of the Nisa, and you remember that a Nisa could be killed by a nail pulled from a barn, while a Skepsra could be killed by a nail from a ship.
Okay.
And you kind of confirm your suspicion, thinking that each of these does represent a Bossin and a way to banish it.
Okay. So then we have fire, which it would... a woman in leaves or a sea monster. Which one does that go to? Do I need to make another learning test?
Nope. I'll let you come to your conclusions on that one.
God damn it, Brian. A sea monster could just as easily be, immune to fire because it's wet. So...
Now, I will say, as you're thinking about what could line up with what, that is not the orientation they are currently in. Do you try and turn the dial on the left-hand side?
Oh. I did not. I just assumed that they wouldn't turn because there was one missing. And I was like, we have to figure out what the other one is to get it in order to turn them. So...
Well, you are half correct. Assuming that Sofie is kind of messing around with this, she does try and turn the left dial, and that one moves very smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
You try and turn the right dial, and that one is stuck.
Okay.
And it is, as you're looking at it, just slightly off of a top orientation.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit off skew rather than clicked into place.
Mm-hmm. Almost as if it's been locked.
Or tampered with.
Or tampered with. Okay. Thanks, DM.
Now, an important question for Sofie. You've kind of messed around with this. You did confirm your earlier suspicion. These doors are, in fact, quite locked. Is Sofie going to try and force them open somehow? Is she going to try and catch up with the tour? Or is she going to check out that other room?
I will glance at the party that's going on in the creepy dead animal room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'm just gonna go in there and, join the tour. And when the opportunity arises, I will pretend to be really fascinated. Knowing Sofie, she probably is a little bit fascinated with all the creepy shit in here. And, she will just go in and ask him, is there, in the other parts of the house, is there anything else as fascinating as this? Like on the other side of the hall?
Subtle. So subtle.
I am afraid that our library is currently inaccessible.
Why is that?
Well, that is the master of the farm's personal library. Traditionally, it has a lock upon it, and that lock was broken by someone a few years ago.
Someone that got into the house?
Indeed.
Oh. And you haven't been able to get into it since, even the master?
Unfortunately, while the master of the farm has been gone, a visitor came in. I had welcomed him into the farmhouse, but he broke a piece of our door.
Eier, can we backtrack just a moment here? You just mentioned that gentleman showed up a few years ago, but earlier you said that the master had been gone for some weeks.
No, I'm so sorry. My memory is not what it was. It must have been within the last month or two. But I know that door has been broken for a little while, since the master of the farm has been gone.
Yes, it did seem to me that there was a piece missing as we walked by there. Can you tell us more about this strange visitor?
I remember him poorly. He had come from Seattle, I believe. I had mentioned he was traveling through. Seemed quite intent to poke around. I had offered to let him sleep in our barn. However, while I was preparing some food for him, he had come through and rummaged around. It is a custom locking mechanism the master of the farm has designed. I suspect the brigand grew frustrated with it and simply pried a piece off.
Did he flee after that, or...?
Indeed. When I saw him with property from the farm, I attempted to chase after him, but like my memory, my legs aren't what they were. I unfortunately wasn't able to keep up with him, and he got away into the mist.
Do you recall his name?
No, I'm so sorry, I don't.
Would you be able to describe him at all?
Man of middle years, with dark-colored hair, darker eyes, a beard, a heavy coat and heavy walking boots.
Does this sound familiar to me?
I mean, that could be a description of a lot of people.
It's like that could be a description of Dr. Jensen.
True.
Yeah.
Was it you, Dr. Jensen?
It was future Dr. Jensen who came through.
Son of a...
Does it sound at all like, my stepdad?
It could be. That's again, a very vague description. But yeah, I mean, all that mostly checked out.
Is there any defining feature about Corbett that he has a scar, he has like a shock of white hair, he had anything like that might have impressed,
Give me a pure logic test.
Okay.
Because Sophie's kind of thinking back to a man who she hasn't seen in many years.
Hey, I got 1 success on 5 dice.
Sofie always remembered him as having a pipe in hand. Even prior to Inga's leaving and him kind of sinking into drink, he always had a smoking pipe.
Okay, so yeah, I'll just ask Eier if he remembers the man smoking a pipe or carrying a pipe.
He thinks about it for a second.
Yes, he had asked to borrow some tobacco for a pipe. I remember helping him to strike a match on a kitchen.
So Sofie she never, she previously, she thought her mom died And then she thought her stepdad like freaking went into the Yukon
Just
or
ran off.
died or went over the hill, as my grandfather would say. So first, here we've got possibly her mother, who is now cropping up and apparently has to do with something Boston related, maybe? But it didn't occur to her at first that her stepfather had anything to do with that. Like, he doesn't really register immediately anyway, because he was just the guy,
Just a dude.
He was just a dude. So now she's like, shit. All this time, did something happen to my mom that was Boston related? And then my stepdad was somehow involved in that as well. So she's kind of a little bit messed up for a second. Like trying to think back, like trying to remember, are there clues that I didn't know about at the time that now I can look back and think, oh, maybe these were signs of something or whatever, but it's a really long time ago, so she's probably not going to remember details like that.
Yeah, she was 8.
Yeah. So, of course, this was some time ago, I understand, but do you remember which direction the man fled when he eluded you?
I am afraid not. The mist was quite thick that day, and it was difficult to see precisely where he went. Perhaps there would still be tracks around. It was only a month or so ago. But I can't say for sure. I twitch.
Would you mind terribly if we is the other room over there, is that perhaps your quarters, or?
Oh, no, that's the master's bedroom.
Oh, I see. I don't really care about that. Would you object to us taking a look around the property just to see if perhaps we could maybe we could locate some footsteps or something like that?
No, not at all. Not at all. Please, feel free. I will be puttering around the farmhouse if there is anything that you need.
Of course. Thank you so much for your help, Eier. We really do appreciate your hospitality.
Of course.
And I will basically drag Julian and Dr. J down the stairs and out the house, assuming they don't have anything else they're trying to do.
Phoenix is shaking his head back and forth.
Okay. So I will tell them all the stuff. I'll tell them about the neck, and I'll tell them that Eier is hiding something, and that it might be that it was my stepdad that was here before, and the stuff about the library and the locks.
Well, it wouldn't be that difficult to get into the library. If it was that important, we could also try to knock it down. But the thing that I'm not quite sure of is Eier. Is he a victim? Is he under the spell of this neck? Is he a bad guy?
I mean, I don't think he's I don't think he's the bad guy. I think he might be a victim. He's someone that might be stuck here.
Yeah, in like a time loop, basically.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out, is if we need to try to help him somehow, or if he's part of this. I'm just not sure.
I'm going to cut in real quick. The three of you are kind of getting a little bit of distance from the house so you can make sure you have this conversation without anybody overhearing.
Mm-hmm.
And you look around. You can still see that dirt path that leads down to the lake. You can still just barely see the large barn out back behind the farmhouse. You can see that orderly row of trees. But where you remember seeing those outbuildings before, there's just thick fog.
Oh no, are we stuck here now too?
What the fuck? Oh shit.
And those fence posts you mentioned?
Oh crud.
You can't see them in the fog. It's like you're in a little bubble inside of this fog.
How far are the fence posts? Is it feasible for us to walk back towards them?
Oh, totally. Do you try to?
Seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh no!
Can I get everybody to roll a d66?
Fucking fuck.
I always know I do a good job when I hear fucking fuck from Aaron.
Really? I mean...
It's a 62 from Julian.
Okay.
I got a 55.
Okay.
Oh!
Wow, I got a 66.
Wow.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I know, right?
It's extremely one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I think I'm happy to be in the middle again.
Hey, Aaron. Can you roll a d6 for me?
Oh no.
Don't worry. It's how many dice you get to add to your next learning test. It's going to be fine.
Well, I got a 6.
Okay. So the three of you are walking for a little ways. It's probably 70, 100 feet down this little winding path to get back to the fence posts. You are completely surrounded in the fog as you're following this path. And the further you walk, the more cold, the more damp everything is. But you begin to see, up ahead, there's a little bit of light. You push on, just a little further, and you stand in front of the farmhouse.
Oh, mother.
I knew it was going to be the damn barn.
Shit balls. Okay.
Oh.
Can I get a fear test from everyone?
Okay, that's 2 successes on 6 dice.
Mm-hmm.
Man. That was 1 success on 8 dice.
Okay. Bill?
That is 1 success on 7 dice.
All right. This is weird. This is creepy. But you are weird, creepy professionals. You have experienced some strange things before. So all of you managed to hold your shit together. But there's no way getting out of this. You're going to have to deal with whatever this is.
As we were traipsing through the fog and it was getting a little tense, I'm thinking about what Sofie has told us about what she knows of the neck. As we get into the farmhouse area here, this barn area...
Not the barn. Barn is a different spot.
No.
I'm the one that said barn. Sorry, Phoenix.
Oh, good.
Bill doesn't even know the difference between names. The barn is named Matthias.
Pretty sure it was Robert.
Robert?
Roger?
It's called Rogbert.
Yeah, I'm gonna... So I looked to the two of you. Well, that's weird. I'm gonna go see if I can find a knife inside.
I'm just going to take a moment to listen. Is there do we hear any wildlife or anything? Birds, frogs, something you would associate with being near water or...
Yep, there are frogs. You hear the occasional bird. There's the sound of movement from out in the fog occasionally of a small animal.
Okay. So it's not dead quiet.
No.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll just be like, all right, and he'll follow Julian to the house.
Julian's ducking back in?
Yeah, so I'm going to come up to the door. I will knock on it and just call out for Eier.
Mm-hmm.
Eier, are you here? We're back.
And the old man will kind of make his way back downstairs.
Yes, visitors, you're back. How may I help you?
Oh, nothing important. I just needed to, why do I need a knife? I'm not sure if I should tell him I needed to cut strings on my instrument.
Are there maybe any apples on the tree? The orchard?
There are no apple trees near where you are.
I'll just tell him I got, no trouble. I just, kind of tapped my stomach. Just got a bit peckish. I was going to, cut up some of that charcuterie that, we had prepared earlier. So if you don't mind, I'll just be over in the kitchen.
Of course. Julian, wasn't it?
and he is easily able to get you a butter knife.
Is it a steel butter knife?
It looks silver.
Oh, this is far too. I wouldn't want to damage your fine silver. I will go to where I guess cutlery would be located. I guess I'll just pick a drawer or something.
Give me an investigation test.
Awesome.
You can do it. I believe in you.
I don't know. I've passed 2 of these already. Getting 3 of them is going to be. Wait, and now this is down to 2 dice.
Somehow 3 successes.
1 success on 2 dice.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Phoenix is Brian's favorite. That's just what we got to accept,
I know,
Aaron.
it's true.
Phoenix's dice were Brian's favorite. That's why he
Untrue
gave
on
them
all
to me.
counts. I torment you all equally.
That's fair.
Phoenix, you go searching through these cabinets and drawers. There's spices, there's silverware, there's kind of fancy cloths for napkins. It surprisingly takes some work to actually find a sharp knife in here. And even then, it's an ornate one. And it's another knife that is like fine silverware.
Okay.
Also, to your surprise, you find one other thing.
Uh-oh.
You recognize it since you were looking around in the workshop earlier. Tucked in the back of the spice cabinet is a jar of arsenic.
Oh. You made the food, right?
Yeah.
Now, we're going to cut away from the pair of you as Eier is kind of looking over your shoulder, trying to help you as you're puttering around the kitchen, and go back to Sofie, who you left outside. And from out in the mist, Sofie's just barely able to hear a voice that says, Shara. And then it seems to fade away. And she's certain she's heard it 100 times before and played it back 100 times in her mind. That's her mother's voice. Is Sofie going to head off on her own to investigate that?
You know what? I think that this is... I'm sorry, Brian, but I did... This is the advantage that I set up for this mystery. I think this might be the point at which she goes, wait a minute, Mira told me not to believe my senses.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided when we set off to do this that I wasn't gonna do anything reckless and emotional or based on like emotional response. And so
does Sofie just kind of like head back into the house to rejoin her companions then?
I don't know if she'll go back and rejoin them. But I think she'll go up on the porch and just like stare out into the fog and keep an ear out because she does want to know, but she's not messing. She's like, obviously we've gotten stuck here and there's no way she's going out in the mist by herself.
Okay. Sofie is waiting on the porch for Dr. Jensen and Julian to come back. And somewhere out in the mist, further than Sofie can see, the shape of a woman waits and watches.
Oh my god.
But we'll get to what happens there next time.
Come on.
No.
Oh my god.
This is how you do. All right. Thank you all so much. And I can't wait for our next session.
Yeah, me neither.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. Our theme song is Myths and Legends by Robert Bruckmeyer, which is playing right now. Our music is by Andreas Lundström, and you can hear more of his work on the Sweden Rolls podcast. Link in the show notes. Our editor is Hannah Cheney. If you're enjoying this show, please take 2 minutes to rate and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. I know every podcast says it, but it really does make a difference and helps us continue to grow the show. Finally, remember the motto of the library. Fear gives way to knowledge. Knowledge gives way to wisdom. And wisdom gives way to the truth. Until next time.